International students who wish to operate a vehicle must successfully apply for and receive a driver's license. Driving a car without a driver's license is illegal. To acquire a driver's license in Moscow, you must apply for one at the Latah County Department of Motor Vehicles, or the DMV. International students living in Idaho will need to decide between a standard driver's license and a Real ID Star Card. An Idaho driver's license permits international students residing in Idaho to drive a motor vehicle like a car. An Idaho Real ID Star Card is a driver's license or identification card that is also a federally accepted form of identification. It can be used to board a domestic flight or enter federal buildings within the U.S. The Real ID requires additional proof of documentation at the DMV office. If driving is the best option for you, here are some helpful tips and information to make your drive smooth and safe. Anyone who operates a motor vehicle on the public roads in Idaho is required to have a valid driver's license. When moving to Idaho, you will need to apply for an Idaho driver's license within 90 days of residing in Idaho if you choose to drive. There are only 4 international driver's licenses that currently transfer the same way as a U.S. driver's license. Those countries are North and South Korea, Germany, and Taiwan. Even though not all international driver's licenses transfer the same way, the process only differs in the fact that students will be required to do a driving skills test. All new Idaho applicants are required to take a written test. Only those that do not have a qualifying driver's license are also required to take the skills test. A U.S. Social Security card is not needed to apply for a driver's license or an Idaho identification card. However, you will need a Social Security exception form to apply for the driver's license. You can find the form on the Idaho Transportation Department's website. International students are issued limited-term identification cards or driver's licenses. These types of identification are typically only valid for 1 year, sometimes 2 years depending on the student's program status. When renewing, students must bring all of their documents. Appointments are available online through the Idaho Transportation Department website. The closest Department of Motor Vehicles, or DMV, is located at 200 South Almond Street, Suite 102 in Moscow, Idaho. When applying for the first time for an Idaho State ID or Idaho State driver's license, the following documentation is required. You will need a valid passport, valid U.S. visa, unless you are a Canadian citizen, proof of Idaho residency, for example, an apartment lease, utility bill, or U.S. bank statement with your Idaho address. If you live on campus in a U of I residence hall, you will need to get a letter from Housing and Residence Life verifying your on-campus address. You will also need to bring your I-94 arrival and departure record, an I-20 or DS 2019, and your Social Security number for students that have a Social Security. If you do not have a Social Security number, you can apply with the Social Security exception form found on the Idaho Transportation Department website. A Real ID is a driver's license or identification card that is also a federally accepted form of identification. Real ID cards are marked with a gold star. When applying for the Real ID card, the documentation that is needed is identical to what is needed for getting an Idaho State ID or an Idaho driver's license, plus a secondary proof of Idaho residency. If you are willing to carry your passport when traveling, you will never need a Real ID Star card. Students interested in the Idaho Real ID can find the complete online document checklist located on the Idaho Transportation Department's website. Car insurance is required by law in the United States. It is important for all drivers who operate a vehicle in Idaho to have liability insurance, whether the vehicle is registered or not. If you are ever caught driving without car insurance in Idaho, you may receive a fine, license suspension, or possibly even jail time. Don't forget, if you drive to campus, you will need to purchase a parking permit in advance. You can order your parking permit online. If you have problems applying for a driver's license, speak with your International Services advisor. Drive safely!